Hello Year 10s, I hope you're all well. Right, this week for these 2 lessons, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to complete 2 biro drawings. So my first thing is I would like you all to copy a section, like an element of this one here. So on your A4 page, what I want you to do first is, because we're going to present it, is I would like you, and you can do this with a ruler, is just to take off a little bit off each of the edges. Now we will trim those bits when you get back, but it just means that then when we present it we can have a nice black border which will make it stand out. Then you don't have to copy it exactly, but it's about picking a few of the different leaves. So I'm going to look at the different shapes, and all I'm going to do to start with is I'm just going to simply sketch them in to where roughly I want them to go, and I want some coming off the page, so it's like a really nice kind of nice patterned composition that's coming off and around. And you can see here that I'm not worried about at this point adding any of the detail. It's more about just getting those proportions, those shapes in, and thinking about where they're all placed with my composition. So I'm going to have one of those leaves coming off and around in here, then the top of the leaf in here, and another one of those kind of coming off and around in here. Okay, so you should probably have some, and making sure that they all, you know, you've got quite a few that come in and off around the page. Once you've kind of got those shapes, I would then go straight, if you feel confident enough, into biro. You might not with these particular leaves, so if you kind of do, after you've got that shape, bringing that around, then it's simply using that, it's kind of like almost bringing those, but following your kind of heart-shaped line by bringing in those elements in it. It's almost like kind of cutting away bits of like cheese, but using those, and then you can then straighten up those. So once you've got those elements, you can then just go on with your biro, and it's about being very confident with your lines again and kind of just adding in that really nice detail. So it's going around the leaf, the shape, bringing him in here, curving him in and round in there, and then again following those lines, and each of the lines you want to help those lines help and show the direction of the leaf. So you can see I'm kind of bringing those out and around in there. Then I've got my other little circly elements within those little kind of holes, and then within those leaves they're like little doubles. So I'm going to bring those doubles in here. And again, you can see I'm being confident with my lines. I'm not being scratchy at all with any of my lines. And then I can then bring those lines up and around, showing the different directions of the leaf, okay? So it's about being really confident with your lines, and your lines helping show the directions and the shape and the texture of the leaf that you are drawing. Okay, it's all that kind of hidden detail that you need to put in, and just be really confident with it. Because, and the reason why we're doing this is because using this kind of style, these lines and these shapes, is going to be similar to how our design will go to when we're doing our lino cuts. When we do a lino cut, it's only lines that you can create the texture and the shape of the leaves. So the more that you guys understand, the more that we practice about looking at different lines, different textures, different ways of adding those kind of shapes and those lines within the leaves, will help when we come to do our designs later on, and about when you come eventually to cut your lino print, and how you cut it, the lines and the mark makings that you make, how important that is when it comes to your final design. Okay, so all of this prep work is obviously part of your final GCSE, but not only that, it's also part of kind of understanding the lines and the shapes when it comes to doing your final piece. All right, so really think about the directions, really think about how the lines will help then create the shape. You can then also then go back, and because we can, it's kind of almost get your biro and make some of the lines a little bit thicker, just to then add in those little bits of those darker lines, kind of showing that understanding, and also just making it that really interesting drawing with your biro. Okay, so we can start putting those in. The same with down on this one. So again, it's kind of looking, and then I might even put that bit of the leaf coming in and around, and looking at the shape, and then again being confident with the idea that all of those lines, so even if you block it first to help you to know the direction, then all of the lines afterwards are all confident and go in that same direction. So again, coming off and around in here, and again really confident, following that same direction and going around. Because if you think about it, when you come to cutting your lino, you'll be cutting out those kind of lines in and around to kind of create those kind of shapes. All right, and then again, when it comes to doing kind of these leaves in here, again, look at the shapes of the leaves to kind of add that little bit more texture and that detail, put into the middles into there, and then again, block it in so you can see the directions of the lines to help then show the shape and the texture of the leaves. And then that will then again help you build it up. Use your pen, make some of the lines a little bit thicker to kind of create that little bit of that texture, that shadows, those mark makings, and to make a really interesting A4 page filled with the different lines from the different leaves here. And that's what I'd like you to do to start with, is just to look at those and start playing around with the direction of lines and how that will then help with the different shapes. So that's your initial one. Your second A4 piece is to pick one of these flower drawings. Now you can pick any single one, and I only want you to do one. If you want to do more, by all means do. And then it's sketching it out. So I'm gonna look at this one here. And first initial thing again is do exactly the same as we did in the last one. So taking off some of the edges. So 1, 2, 3, 4, just there. And then sketching in the proportions again. So I'm just going to put in the middle of my flowers. Just going to start by sketching those in to help with my little proportions, and then from there again it's just about getting in roughly the shapes. So I can already see I've gone too close to that one, but I'm just going to go with it for the moment. In here, little bud, in here, sketching these in around in here. So again, it's simply just sketching in where roughly the petals will go to help you then making sure that you've got all your proportions in and you're kind of fitting all the flowers. I'm not worried about the exact detail at this point. I'm just simply sketching in my flowers. Because I know that I can then change my elements afterwards once I'm happy. So I'm going to go with that. And then what I'm going to do after that is then with my pen it's then about then looking at the individual parts. Now, if I just did a circle here, that wouldn't be correct for this one. So what I'm going to do, it's about having that kind of all those little circles, which isn't perfect, and it makes me really look at the inside of that flower. And again, in here, within this single petal, it's about me making and looking at the lines within the petal and how those lines help then with the direction of that petal. Okay, and then again in the middle, building it up. Now, if you feel more comfortable using a pen like this, then by all means do, all right? But biro is absolutely fine. Use the equipment that you feel most comfortable with. And the same with if you want to sketch out more with a pencil and kind of just start to really make sure that then afterwards you kind of almost start putting in these parts with the pencil first if you don't feel so confident, just so that at least then you've got the shape and the direction of the petals correct before you start doing the pen. And again, you know, you work with however best it is that you can and what you feel most comfortable with, okay? Because then it's about really looking at the directions of the lines and how these lines help with the texture and the shape. And again, this brings us back to the idea of we will be creating eventually our lino print in the same style, in the same way. And the only way with a lino print is every kind of cut that we make will create this texture, will create this mark making, and this is what it's all leading towards. Okay, so it's really important that you understand that there is a reason why we're doing this. This technique, this mark making, will lead us to that understanding of adding those mark making, those lines to our lino print. So the more confident you get, understanding the direction, the thickness, how each kind of mark making, each line will then help with the texture, help with the shape, will then help you when we start to do our designs and when you come back and we will start to then do our final piece, okay? So please understand that we are doing this and everything that you learn will then be put into that final piece, okay? So you will then work on all of this, like I'm doing here, filling that beautiful page with all that lovely mark making of those chosen flowers. You can choose this one. You might want to choose one like this. Again, the lines, the directions will help show the petals. And again in here, lines and direction will help show the petals and the different shapes of the flowers. And this one here is then understanding the leaves, because what we're going to do next week is we will then look at the designs and coming up with a design for our lino print, thinking about different leaves, different flowers for that final piece. So what I'd like you to do, A4 leaf drawing, cutting off a bit of the edge, doing beautiful mark makings with your biro or your black pen, sketching it out, and again choosing a flower and again applying that mark making, those lines within one of those. All right, any issues, please contact me. You've got this week to get this completed, and I will see you soon. Thank you very much for your attendance.